A local legend is proving you can reach for the skies no matter what challenges you face along the way.
Yeah, Cody's Caravan's live in Cameron Park this morning, introducing us to a woman who was just inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame.
So
hey,
cool.
Yes, the National Aviation Hall of Fame.
Yes.
You were in other Hall of Fames.
Yeah, three others.
Three others, but this is the biggie.
This was the biggie.
This is the Oscar you were telling me.
Yeah, that's what they call it. They call it Oscar night, but you know, their home base is Dayton, Ohio, and then.
Your dog just licked me, by the way.
Oh, well, that's because she has good taste. Yeah,
Baby girl.
but the National Aviation Hall of Fame, yeah, that's like the National Aviation Hall of Fame. You know.
And when you got the call, when you got notice that they were going to do this, you didn't believe them.
I really didn't. In fact, it's funny. I've had a lady friend and other people that I know have been nominating me over the years, and the documentation they want is outrageous. It's just amazing. So I get this call from Dayton, Ohio, and she said, "Hi, my name is Amy Yamamura," and I didn't know the name of the CEO. She goes, "I'd like to speak to you. I think I have some good news for you." So I called my girlfriend Donna, an Airbus captain, also with American, and she goes, "Julie, call him back," because I don't ever look. Nobody answers their phone. Dayton, Ohio. I don't know him in Dayton. So anyway, I called back, and then I called Donna, and she was just getting ready to get on a flight. She goes, "You got to let me know." So I just put in, "I'm in," with a thumbs up, and she said she got on the airplane, just started crying because she's all excited, because she's been a really promoter. She's an aviation writer as well as an airline pilot.
That is amazing. Okay, congratulations on that, by the
thank
way,
you so
because
much.
that is a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
Next year, there's a guy people might have heard of that's being inducted, Sully something.
That's it,
Yeah.
a good buddy of mine, and he's being inducted next year. Next year will be in Washington, D.C., the venue, so I'm going to absolutely make sure I'm there for him, because he's a great guy.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back in time. You were the first female commercial airline pilot.
Not the very first. I was one of the first 21.
One of the first
So
21,
we
okay.
actually formed an organization of which I'm a charter member called ISA plus 21. And ISA in pilot talk is International Static Adiabatic Rate for Temperature Change per 1,000 feet. Totally forget everything I just said.
I totally knew that,
Right,
Julie.
yeah, exactly. I knew you know that. So ISA, and then the 21 stands for the first 21 of us that got together in Las Vegas to form this organization. Because back then we were such oddities.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the radios, and then people would start calling you, "Hey, Julie," because they knew you by your name. And the airline I didn't want to be noticed any more than the airline wanted us to be noticed. We just wanted to do our job and carry on.
You told me a very funny story, because the one airline wanted to hire you, and they said, "Well, we're sorry, the bathroom doesn't have a door and it's only for men," and you told them.
Right. Well, at my very last interview, I hadn't gone through training yet, but I did my main check ride, had cut my hair from long to this and to real short, had done everything they wanted for about 9 months. And so now I'm thinking, okay, I'm finally going to get hired. I'm the first woman they ever had in their airline. And he still was a little bit leery about having, he didn't want the notoriety. It wasn't that he was worried about my ability. It was the notoriety of having, women coming into this flight deck, if you will. So anyway, he said, well, we still have one problem, is we don't have a door in the men's room when you walk into the ramp office at LAX. And I said, and I stood up, and they always say that I just said, I'd offer to buy the door and I'll install it myself, but it didn't go quite that I got in his face, and I stood up and I said, "Captain August, I've been going through this for 9 months. I'll buy you a Golf Delta door if you'll just give me the job." And I sat down and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm just so frustrated." He goes, "I like your spunk. When can you start?" And that was Friday. I started training on Monday.
That is such a good story.
It really was. And then it became a story. And the gal that introduced me at the Hall of Fame did this whole metaphor on doors and blocking. I thought her speech was amazing. But
So good.
That
That's
was
so good.
my big,
Okay,
challenge.
hold on. We got a million stories.
Yeah, okay.
This plane behind us has a million stories.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be
Flipping while
telling
we
you
can't talk.
stories this morning, so you guys stick around for this. The great Julie Clark, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right.
Thank you, Cody.
All right, taking the Caravan to new heights and hanging out with a local legend who was just inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame.
We are checking back in with Cody Stark, who one day will make some Hall of Fame, who is hanging out in Cameron Park this morning to give us the details. Hey, Cody.
I am indeed, and I don't know what Hall of Fame would have me, John. I don't think I want to be a part of that group, quite honestly. So, Julie, we're looking at this beautiful plane behind you. Matter of fact, a president once called it what?
Air Force 1/2. President Reagan. I got to meet him in 1982 at the Edwards Air Force Base Air Show. And so they wanted him to come over and see the airplane. And I was all excited because I thought he was going to fly in an Air Force One, but he came in a helicopter. But he came over and looked at the airplane and dubbed it Air Force 1/2. So it's kind of been like that all these years. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about this. How many miles are on it?
Well, we don't do miles in airplanes. We do hours, hours on the airframe and engine. So this is one of the highest time. It is the highest time T-34 out there, of which maybe there's 200 of them flying. And this has over 15,500 hours. That's like
a lot.
bunch. Most of them have like 4,500 to 5,000 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, I used to tell people a little lady bought it from Alaska, and she only flies it on weekends, but she flies it really hard. But it's flown a show in every state in the United States, every lower province in Canada, the island of Bermuda, Alaska twice, Mexico twice as well. So it's been, everybody knows this airplane.
So it didn't look like this when you got it. Matter of fact, you have a picture right here.
This is what it looked like when I bought it sight unseen up in Alaska. And it was on a government sealed bid from the U.S. Air Force for 2 T-34s. So I went to my school teacher girlfriend because you needed to spend $1,000, and I was flying Golden West Airlines Twin Otters at $475 a month. So she lent me the $1,000, and I thought, the minimum bid was $17,000, so I bid $18,000. And then like 6 months later, Penny kept saying, "You owe me $1,000." I know, Penny, I haven't heard yet. And then I found out I won the bid, and the airplane's up in Alaska, and I'd never seen it before, and that was truly the first nail in the coffin of that marriage.
I love it. I love it.
But I didn't tell my husband I had bid it, and bid in it. And he'd been a Navy pilot. He'd flown T-34s.
You should know. Come on.
Gosh.
So this plane, quite famous. When you fly this in the sky, people know it's Julie Clark.
Well, like if I'm really on my way to fly an air show, I go land at little airports, because you land at any major airport or somewhere where it turns into an autograph frenzy, because everybody does know this airplane. I flew 41 years in this same paint job airplane in air shows, so it's very well known.
Fantastic. When you go to these air shows and you're doing your show and you're doing your thing, what are you thinking about in your head as you're doing that?
Well, first of all, I fly to music. Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA, and it's choreographed. So that's what made this show kind of not famous, but popular, because it's not only patriotic, but it's different. It's not one of these just herky-jerks, see how many G's you can pull in a small little airplane that you can barely see. And I had multicolored smoke, red, white, and blue. We had fireworks launched on the ground and flying to music. And so, but the airplane in itself is not that exciting, but as you put all this together, it became an act that everybody really, really enjoyed. And look forward to, I had people in my website come just to those air shows that I was flying at those air shows.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
But you got to put it together and make it different, and pleasing.
Yeah.
So the air show business, probably like any show business, it's very competitive. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
And you're still doing it. You're still doing it.
But I'm not doing the circuit. I did the circuit for 41 years, and I used to tell people I felt like a gypsy. It was me, my airplane, and my dog. And I did all, and then if I wasn't doing that, I was flying my airline career, and I did the two together for 17 years. So once I retired from the airline business at age 60, I was only doing the air shows, but and I was based in Minnesota with my airline job, so I kept my house there on a grass strip, and did all my ferried my airplane.
You are my favorite person. I love Julie Clark. Okay, coming up, more with Julie. She's got stories like you would not believe. Coming up, back to you guys.
It's
Thanks,
so cool.
Code.
Thank you, Code. All right, this morning we're hanging out with a local piloting legend. We're going to check back in with Cody Stark, who was hanging out in Cameron Park this morning with some more stories. Hey, Cody?
More stories, more stories. Okay, so 20 years ago, you retired from the airlines.
You're almost 28 years of flying.
I was wondering if you'd tell us about your last flight, because this is really good.
Yeah, this is good. It was Northwest Airlines. Today is Delta, so my pension says Delta. No allegiance there. It's Northwest Airlines. And I was based in Minneapolis. So my last flight was Sacramento, nonstop to Minneapolis in my Airbus. And I had 9 of my family and friends on board, my 2 sisters, and it was a great flight. And they gave me the fire truck salute out of Sacramento because the old broad was the first woman to retire, female pilot at the airline, because I was one of the first to get hired.
Right.
So, we had the fire truck salute and all that, and that was all really great. But unbeknownst to me, my twin sister was in the printing business, and they printed up, every passenger got a history of my career and then my face. And it's on a fan. So unbeknownst to me, I knew they were being handed out just as something to give to all the passengers, 184 people. 184 people. So now, unbeknownst to me, I'm up front getting ready to push back, and then the ATC controller ended up being a friend of mine that decided to work that sector and wished me well, and it was a great flight. And they let me circle Cameron Park 4 times at 4,000 feet, where over Froggo is usually 9 or above. So all my neighbors were out looking for the big red tail of Northwest Airlines. So unbeknownst to me, the flight attendant says, now every time the captain comes out, everybody put your face on like this. And so now they'd call me out for something, or I spend a lot of time just visiting. They all knew it was my final flight with the airlines. So I'd open the cockpit door, and this was all I see of the whole back end. And so my last flight was very entertaining because I saw a lot of this craziness. But they got this nice little...
I love it. Yeah. This all started because your dad, who was a pilot, very famous pilot around here, he took you up on a trip when you were like, what, 7 or 8?
I was 8 years old, and I begged my mom to let me out of school for one day, and he said, let her go, Marge. We'll be home by dinner time. And then he kept saying, now, you got to really want to do this. Dad, I really want to do this. And I got to read the checklist to him, and I got to sit between the 2 pilots, and it was in a DC-3, so now I'm really dating myself. And then after that, I went on several other flights. I ferried the F-27 when it was a new airplane to them from Hagerstown, Maryland, all the way back to California. And my mom said, just let her go with you. So I just idolized my dad, because all I wanted to do was not just be a pilot, I wanted to be an airline pilot. Now, mind you, this is back in the 50s, so... Yeah, so we finally broke through that ceiling in the 70s.
Yeah, you did. When you fly, do you still feel them on your shoulder?
I do, and especially when I go, Dad, don't let me do, now this is bad English, but don't let me do nothing dumb. So I got Dad here and God on the other shoulder. And I know I've done things that would just really piss him off. But...
Julie Clark, thank you so much. We got another segment coming up. We'll tell you about some famous people she's flown with, but I'm going to tell you, this is so much fun.
I've had a blast.
You are amazing. All right, back to you guys in the studio.
That is amazing. Thank you, Code.
The local legend is proving that you can reach for the skies no matter what challenges you face along the way.
Cody's Caravan went to Cameron Park this morning to introduce us to a woman who was just inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame.
Cody's Caravan, we're in Cameron Park this morning talking with my friend Julie Clark. This life that you have led in the sky, you have had so many adventures, but you've also met some really interesting people through the years.
Yes, I have. I was on the Joan Rivers show back in 1989, and she's a character. Oh my gosh, she just had me laughing. And like when she came in the green room in the back, and she wanted, I was on her show because we had, excuse my nose, animals that did unusual things. And my other dog, Mags, from back in the 80s, used to fly in the back shelf, and we'd do aerobatics, and Mags was cool with it. So we were on Primetime Pets, Mac and Muttley, and I guess so her show called to have me be on her show. So they're showing the video and everything. So she comes around in the back, and I go, oh my God, there's Joan Rivers. And she just came back to see how we were all doing before there was 4 of us coming on with different animals. But we had our own separate segments, and I was on first. So she goes, well, how are we all doing down there? And I said, we're doing great. And she goes like this, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your dog. And I was so intimidated by that. But then when I went on the show, because then I thought, oh my God, I didn't say the right thing. I was so kind of starstruck by her. So when I get out there, she said, you're so tiny, how do you fly those big jets? And so I said, well, I don't fly, I don't pick them up, I just fly them. And so we kind of had this little thing. And then she wrote a book when I was writing my book called Enter Talking. And then I had the second segment called Still Talking. And she sent me Christmas cards for like 10 years.
Did she really?
And she had my book, because my book was just coming out. And I actually became good friends with her. And she's a kick. She was so down to earth. Oh my God, down to earth like you can't believe.
That is lovely. You brought up your little dog here, right here.
is Chloe.
Chloe flies with you
All the time,
when
too,
you
but-
go.
yeah, but
So
she-
how many hours up in the sky is Chloe got?
And that's a good question. Hours versus miles. I'd say over 1,000 hours probably because she's only 5. Yeah. So, and she gets very upset if she sees me get in the airplane out and it's like, and I'm not going. So she goes and she sits on the back shelf, but she doesn't. During the flight, she gets down and sits in the back seat where Meg's always wanted to sit in the back shelf. Yeah.
Julie, this has been an incredible life, and it's still going. You're still flying. You're still doing the thing.
I'm still flying. I do a lot of the salute flight with my partner. He's has a T-34, and we fly for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, for December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. We're going to do a big flight in the Bay Area with the other airplanes, and we go over the Jeremiah O'Brien, the Hornet, the Golden Gate Bridge, and a big flight of like 12, and it's called the Memorial Flight.
Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
and then we have another crew down in San Diego called the Salute Flight. So, yeah. And then a lot of people even will do the missing man. If there's been a veteran that's died of old age, especially World War II, which we're losing so
Right.
many of them, we get involved with the missing man flights as well.
I love it. Thank you for today. This has been so much
Oh my
fun.
God, I feel the same way.
This was so much fun. We're going to go flying together, though.
Oh, yes.
We're going to
Be
go
sure to
flying.
tell them about that.
That's right. We're going to fly sometime in the spring. She and I are going up together.
Yeah.
All right, back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Cody.